Hello everyone, this is Mumbo and welcome back to another Minecraft video, and in this one we're going to be doing something really quite special. Today we're going to take a look at how to build a hidden base in Minecraft. Now this thing is going to be totally secret. In theory no players will be able to find it, but also it is going to have a handful of security systems that will kill any player that tries to get in. Basically this is going to be perfect for those of you who want to make sure that your items are safe. Now we're going to be building it in this hillside right here, and most of it is of course going to be underground because that's the easiest thing to hide. So I think first things first, we should probably build some form of entrance. Now the way that we are actually going to get access to this base is going to be using a hidden button. So what I would suggest doing is finding some form of hillside and finding an area a bit like this one. So we've got some stone and we also have some dirt like this, and I'm actually going to expand out this stone so that it does something a little bit like that, which looks totally natural. You can see that sort of thing in hillsides all over the place, and we're going to place the button on this block right here. Now as you can see, if we're walking around, you really cannot spot that button. I mean, it is almost impossible to spot. Even when you're walking past like this, it is really difficult to spot. But if you want to make it even harder, because of the biome that we're in with all of the bone meal and everything like that, I would suggest placing down some long grass and making it extra long. That way it will cover up the texture even more, and that's just completely unspottable. I mean, you would have to have eagle eyes to be able to see that thing right there. So that is going to be the input that is going to be opening up our hidden piston door that is going to be going in this sort of area right here. So now I have cleared out a little bit of space on the inside of our hillside right here, and these two blocks right here are where our piston door is actually going to be going. So we want to place a 2x2 area of sticky pistons just like that, and then two sticky pistons, and then the blocks on their faces, which for those of you who are familiar with Redstone will know is a 2x1 flash piston door. Then we're going to place blocks going across the top like this, and it doesn't matter what blocks you're using. I just tend to use iron because I think it looks better. We're going to have redstone there, and then a repeater set to 2 ticks with redstone running down like this. And because we can't actually break these blocks, so these blocks right here are exposed to the outside, we're then going to run that redstone signal down, and we're going to run it out like this and into those pistons just like that, which should power all of them and mean that we have a fully functioning system. So when we power all of this redstone, you can see our pistons extend, and we now have a completely flush with the wall dirt door. And then when we break this redstone, you can see our piston door opens up. So now all we have to do is connect up our piston door into our button. Now as far as I remember, our button should be on this block right here. So we're going to have some redstone running up like this, and then a bunch of blocks, a block up like that, and then a redstone torch on the side of that thing to make sure that this door is closed by default, because otherwise, of course, that would be a little bit silly to have the door open all of the time. Then we're going to have 2 repeaters set to 4 ticks running into that block to give us time to travel from the button over to the door, because obviously otherwise we'll never be able to get through this thing. So I guess now it is time to test everything out. So we're going to cover up these blocks right here and that block right there. We're going to press our button, quickly run over to the location, and we should be able to get through. 9 times out of 10, you'll be able to get through. I'm just terrible at controlling the player here. So we've passed the first test, but now it is time for the security measures. Now as you may be able to tell, I have cleared out an absolutely massive space to make way for all of the redstone, the entire hidden base and everything. You don't have to clear out as much room as this. I just wanted plenty of room to work with so that you can see all of the redstone that I'm placing down, and so that I'm not working in super cramped conditions. But anyway, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to place in 3 blocks across the bottom right here, and then we are going to have obsidian around the outside. Now it doesn't have to be obsidian if you don't want it to be. I understand that that is very expensive, but I want to make it very difficult for the player to get out of this place. So we're going to have obsidian going all the way around like this, but you may notice I've missed a block right here, and that is because we are going to be placing a dropper in this section here. Our security test is going to test if the player has a certain item in their inventory. So the owner of the base will get that item ready when they come through the piston door. They will go in like this, they'll place the item inside the dropper, they'll then hit a button, that'll be sent off, it will go through the system, and then if they get the correct item, they'll be allowed into the proper base. If they don't get the correct item, or they don't place the item in time, then the floor will open up beneath them, and they'll be dropped down into lava. It's perfect. So from this dropper right here, I'm going to place 1, 2, 3, and then 4, 5 blocks out like this, and then we're going to have a chest on that block right there, and we're going to run hoppers going right the way across like that, and they're going to go through into this chest. Now these are going to be the rejected items, so if a player comes in and places the wrong item on the inside of the dropper and then hits this button right here, it will be sent through into these hoppers and it will make its way into this chest, but the floor won't open up. So there is a chance that if they're trying things like diamonds and iron, that you will get free diamonds and iron, which will always be pretty handy. But anyway, if we head down underneath as well, we're going to place 2 blocks going down like this, and then we're going to have a line of hoppers down at the bottom here, and we're going to have a hopper facing in this direction, and this is going to be the hopper that's important, because this is the one that's going to be working out the correct item that is traveling through the system. So we're going to take a comparator output from that one, and that's going to be going up into these blocks right here. Now we are going to have to run some redstone across like this. You are going to have to cut off that redstone line there. Then we're going to have a redstone torch on the side of this one, and then a block going across like this with redstone dust right there. That is your item filter. So now you want to place in the item that you want to have to place into the dropper. So for me personally, I'm going to be using an iron block. So as you can see, it will stop at 18 and then we'll have the iron going across like this. So if we place in any old item on the inside of this thing, for example this obsidian, and then hit this button, you can see that it will go through into the hoppers and end up in this chest over here. But if we place the iron block into the system, then we should see that it will travel through, we'll get a redstone output, and it will end up in this chest down at the bottom right here. Now this is where things are going to get just a tiny bit complicated, so you might have to bear with me here, but we're going to be adding in the piston door, which is going to be going in this section right here. Now the way that we're going to connect that up is we're going to run that straight out from our item filter, so that's going to run a redstone output there. We need to have that redstone dust, and then we're going to have a repeater, and that's going to run that redstone line up like this, and we're going to be putting that into a pulse extender. So we want to create a 3x2 area. We're going to have some redstone dust running across the back, a comparator facing in this direction, a comparator facing in that direction, a block, and then some redstone dust right there, and that will extend out our pulse, which is incredibly handy. Then we're going to take a redstone torch output from that thing to invert the signal, and we're going to run that redstone line out and across into these pistons right here. So that is the piston door done. If you get the correct item, then these piston doors will open up. But one extra piece of security that I think is really, really cool is we're going to add in a piston down at the bottom, which does the opposite of these pistons, which will essentially act as a pitfall trap. So say a player comes in, they decide they don't want to do the security system, and instead they break these 2 blocks to get into the base. They're not going to be able to get into the base because this block right here will be removed and they will fall through into the lava. Now the way that we hook that up is we're going to have redstone dust, a redstone torch right there, and then we're going to have 2 blocks down at the bottom with a redstone line running down into that piston. So let's just double check that the system itself is working. So we hit the button, we can go through our piston door, that takes us through into this chamber, then we place an iron block in here, hit this button, and our piston door should open up, and that block gets extended underneath us. Perfect. That thing is now functional. We've made sure that that is working because, you know, you really don't want to add in the piston lava trap before you've actually made sure that all of this works, because you don't want your first test to be potentially lethal. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go down underneath like this. We're going to place in some sticky pistons making their way across the bottom right there, which are going to be running into these blocks right here. And underneath those, we're going to have our blocks, and then a handful of blocks down across the bottom like this with repeaters running into each and every one of those, and we want to set all of these to 4 ticks with redstone dust like that. To make it so that these pistons down at the bottom here are active, we're going to take a redstone output from the button area. So this block right here is our button. This redstone connects into the original piston door, and it's also going to connect in to our redstone down at the bottom here. So we're going to have a sticky piston with a block, and that is going to run down into this redstone down at the bottom. And I would actually suggest using a redstone block for this one, because we're going to have it going down here and redstone dust right there. So this piston is going to extend, it's going to power this redstone dust, which is going to be going into a very long repeater line. And when I say a very long repeater line, I mean use as many repeaters as you think are necessary. So I'm going to have 4 tick repeaters going all the way across like this, probably up to, well, I might as well go right the way to the end, and then we're going to have a block going across like that, and we're going to do exactly the same thing running all the way across like this into this block right here, which is going to have a redstone torch, which will extend out all of those sticky pistons. So once again, repeaters set to 4 ticks all the way across right here, because the thing is that you're going to hit that button, that's going to open up the piston door. We want to give the player time to place the iron block into the dropper and actually send it off, and for the for the system to actually recognize that that item has gone in. Because obviously if the trap opens up as soon as you go through the door, that's not particularly brilliant. That'd be pretty awful. Once again, let's give this thing a tester. So we hit this button right here and we go through into the chamber area. We place in our iron block into the system and that opens up our piston door. And then we should see that our pitfall trap will open up after we've done that. So you have to be quite quick, because otherwise you could be caught out by your own trap, which would be a little bit deadly. But any other player that breaks into that area right there, if they manage to find your base and they get in there, they're going to sort of look around, they're going to try and work out what's going on, and then they're going to be dropped down into the lava underneath them. Now this is where you guys get to be as creative as you like. I'm going to let you have complete free reign on this one. I personally am going to be going for a fairly simple design using brick and also oak wood. But you guys can go as crazy as you want. Build gigantic bat caves, the most insane hidden bases you possibly can. Just go completely bonkers. But in the next couple seconds, I'm going to be giving you guys some tips and traps for different ways that you can catch out players that have somehow managed to get into your base. So say, for example, they beat to all of this security system. Somehow, you can still kill them off inside this area right here. Now, I'm sure the first thing that you guys are wondering is, how on earth do I get out of this place? There's no exit. The only way that we can get out is using this security system right here, and it's an incredibly complex security system, so there has to be some form of way to get out. So what I've done is I've placed a button in this area right here, and we're going to have to punch out some extra redstone, and we're going to have to run that into some of the circuitry. Now, the first thing that I would suggest doing is going up to your pulse extender, taking a repeater output from that one, and that is going to be running across like this, up into this block, and into this redstone line right here, which is the redstone line that pretty much activates the entire circuit. So that activates all of the piston doors out the front, and this circuit also activates this piston door right here. So that should now open up both sets of piston doors, and we can just run the redstone line out like this, and up into that circuit somehow. Now I would suggest probably using redstone torches, so we're going to invert that one and invert it once again, and then we're going to connect this up using a redstone repeater, and that should in theory be everything, and it also means that the pulse is going to be extended, which should hopefully give you enough time to get through. So when we hit this button right here, our piston door will open up, this one will open up as well, and we can pop on outside and everything will close up behind us. Just don't spend too long in the chamber, because it will also open up the fire trap. That's just something to be aware of. So now onto our first trap. I'm sure all of you guys have seen the technique of placing a painting on the front of two fence gates so that you can walk through the painting and gain access into some hidden chests. The only thing is that that has been so overdone now that if someone sees a painting in a base, they are going to try and walk through it. But what a lot of people don't realize is you can also place paintings on the sides of pressure plates, which means that we can turn this into a trap. We can make it look like we're trying to hide away all of our items, when actually we're trying to catch people who are looking for hidden items. It's absolutely perfect. So what we're going to do is we're going to place two sets of sticky pistons like this, facing in this direction. This is going to be a one-use redstone trap, which is a little bit of a shame. We're going to take a redstone output right there. That's going to be going up into this redstone torch right here, and we're going to take the output from that and run it across like this into this redstone right here. Both of those pistons will now be extended, and if a player tries to go through that painting, they will instantly stand on top of the pressure plate. Both pistons will retract, and that means that they will fall through into some form of trap area, be it lava, or potentially just a really long pitfall with hoppers down at the bottom. Now I would suggest placing in some standard items. For example, we've got chests and trap chests going across like that. If anything, if you place them next to this area right here, it makes it glaringly obvious that that is meant to be some form of hidden entrance, and if any player gets inside there, they will try and go through it. So that's definitely something to take into consideration. Across this back wall here, I'm going to have some furnaces, and I think now it is time to actually create some form of hidden chest system. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go out the back of this furnace right here, and I'm going to place in an observer that is going to be facing in this direction. Now this observer is going to be detecting updates from this piston. Now for those of you who don't know, pistons will give updates when they actually start firing. So once the piston has a flame down at the bottom, that will give an update, and once that goes off, that will also give an update, which means that we can hook this redstone line up into some sticky pistons, for example, over here. Now these sticky pistons will retract this pillar, which will reveal a whole bunch of chests that are going to be out the back here. Now this is where you can actually store all of the items that you want to hide away. Obviously I would suggest using ender chests for things like diamonds and all the other valuables, but this will be a good place to keep all of the items that you don't really want any other players from finding. So now we're going to place in some redstone running out the back of our observer, and that's going to run up like this into this block right here, which will power those two pistons. So if we head out the front and we get ourselves some smelting blocks, so we're going to need some form of coal. That needs to go down at the bottom of the furnace, so we can do that real quick. And then we need something to smelt, so I would say maybe cobblestone. Let's grab ourselves some cobblestone, and if we place that on the inside, you can see those pistons retract, and there we go. We now have access to those 3 chests, and also we can cover up this block right here, just to make it look pretty. So let's just do a quick recap of everything that we've built in today's video. Now, I'm going to have to do the first section quite fast because it is quite time sensitive, but we've built a hidden button system that runs into a flush piston door that also has an item password lock that opens up our next piston door, which then also has a piston pitfall trap down in the center of it, which is time sensitive to stop any players from getting in and trying to break through into the base. And if they do try to break through into the base, then they will also be killed by the piston that happens to be under these 2 blocks right here. So all of that is incredibly smart. Now obviously we also have the exit for that, which is a tiny bit more complicated than you would first imagine, because we have to go against all of those security systems. So that thing works wonderfully. We have got the item systems, which send through the different items that we've tried to put on the inside of the system down into these chests right here so that we can pick them up. Then we also have a hidden painting trap and a furnace chest reveal system, which allows us to see our chests when we place any old item inside this furnace right here. Basically, a lot of the systems on the inside of this place really are quite smart, and this hidden base is absolutely fantastic. Obviously, the decoration, it's not particularly brilliant. I mean, it looks okay, but I know that you guys can do much better than this. I was just trying to give you guys some inspiration as to what you can do with your own hidden bases. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please sure to hit that like button. And if you really loved it, then make sure to subscribe. But thanks for watching, guys. This has been Mumbo, and I'm out. I'll see you later.